Welcome to our first episode of Community Corner, where United Way connects with local partners, agencies, and people who live right here to showcase the power of community. During this series of shows, you will also hear from inspiring individuals and those who have had to overcome incredible barriers, and especially those who are driving positive change. Our community is facing many issues, including poverty, mental illness, lack of youth supports, social isolation, domestic violence, among many others. And this community has made great strides and demonstrated its commitment to those who are struggling. The show features a panel discussion with local experts, individuals with lived experience, and we then move into a short news segment, and with every episode we wrap up with a performance by a local artist. Everything about this show is local, and we call that local love. So joining us on our first panel, and to help us understand the vitality and importance of this network of support, I'd like to introduce you to our panel guests today, Shauna Mutton and Kenny Small. So Shauna is the Vice President of Community Impact at United Way, where she leads the investment strategy on behalf of donors. And Kenny is currently a member of Unifor Local 707, working on the Lynette Ford Motor Company, and also spends his time in community sharing his personal battle with his experience with United Way. So welcome. Nice to have you both.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. So United Way is really a key part of the backbone and is the heart of this ecosystem. And we call it, it's a critical ecosystem, and this network provides really critical support. So today we're going to be talking about this network of support. So Shauna, let's start with you. I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit about the network of supports and why it's so important.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for having me here today. It's such an important topic, and our network is extremely valuable to the community. It's like a community and collaboration system of 58 connected agencies with 106 local programs and services that work together. And as you mentioned, last year this network supported over 200,000 people who reached out to us for support.
Mm-hmm. It's a vital piece of our community for sure. And Kenny, you know, you've had to navigate this network of support yourself. I'm wondering if you can share a little bit about your experience.
Well, as I've said many times before, people don't realize just how important the United Way is and the services that they provide. And people, many times they don't realize that they're one step away from having to use some of these services. My situation back in 1987, 88, I was married, had 2 children, and I was slowly moving up. I was working for a company and slowly moving up the ladder. And if you recall, there was a recession in 91, I believe it was, 91. And the company downsized, and I found myself out of a job, and my wife at the time, she decided that she didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. And so she left me with a 3-month-old baby and a 2.5-year-old toddler. Well, at that point in time, I actually thought to myself, I'm not worried about finding a job because, you know, I have enough experience. I spent enough time, a lot of post-secondary education. I wasn't worried about it. But, however, at that point in time, the market for employment had dwindled down to nothing. So I found myself going from having an office, wearing a suit to work, to pumping gas at a local gas station. At that point in time, I think I was making $8.25 an hour. However, I had rent to pay, I had babysitting costs, and I became one of what we refer to as the working poor. And at the end of the day, I started to realize I did not have enough money to be able to feed my children. So I remember going to one of the local food banks. And I remember, you know, the eldest one, you know, toddler at the time, he's constantly running around the place. And I'm like, no, sit down, sit down. And I remember he walked over and he saw the little United Way symbol, and he looked at me and he goes, you know, Daddy, what's that? And I go, it's the United Way. I don't know what it's about. But I remember getting help and then coming home. And then it was a few years later, that's when I got the job at Ford Motor Company, and someone had approached me about becoming a canvasser, right, for the team. And I remember that symbol, and I remember getting help, and I thought to myself, I'm like, yeah, let me see what I can do to help give back. So I tell everyone, I says, you know what, please do what you can to help. Let's help, because I envision a day when services are no longer going to be needed. All right, if that day comes, then I'll be happy. And if we can, as individuals, help other people, you know, help themselves, those people in turn will turn around and help other people the same way that I'm doing now, because I needed the services, and now I'm doing my part to give back.
Kenny, you know, thank you so much for sharing that. You're such an inspiration to this community. And you know, a lot of people are living on the edge.
Yes.
And like you said, you know, the working poor is such an important group within our community. And they're working hard every day, multiple jobs usually, just to stay afloat. I'm wondering, Shauna, if you could tell us a little bit more about why this network of support is so important.
Yeah, sure. I mean, United Way, you know, has worked hard with our partners and community to establish a linked system of supports, a network of connected agencies and services that continue to work together. We focus on building capacity within these agencies across Halton and Hamilton so that they're better equipped to achieve their missions. Supporting people through, they support people through numerous challenges that any one of us could find ourselves in, like Kenny talked about. Investments in these types of programs deliver the most impact for the people in our community.
You know, we talk about impact a lot, and you know, the privilege of making these investments in local programs on behalf of donors, right? That really is a privilege, and measuring the impact of those investments. And you know, Kenny, you were saying how you're now, you know, a supporter, a long-standing supporter of United Way, and you're giving back to community. Tell us a little bit about why that's important to you.
Well, as I said previously, you know, I was a recipient. You know, I'm not just someone that you know, hears about the United Way and oh, I'm not really sure what those guys really do with the funds. I was a recipient, right? And as I said earlier, any of us were one step away from needing the help. Whether you're, well, case in point, my mother, she's starting to get up there in age. She's 87 years old. And my children have now grown and they've left. And I'm reaching that stage in life where I'm thinking to myself, okay, I still have to work. You know, my wife has to work. Am I going to be needing these supports, these services, right, to help my mom out as she gets older? So it's more of a personal thing for me. And I also I have a younger brother who is mentally challenged, right? So between seeing what I went through, seeing the trials and tribulations that my brother has to go through, and upcoming possible trials and tribulations that my mother may have to go through, it's personal to me to be able to help, whether with funds or donating my services or helping the community on the whole, just to be able to get out there and because this is the community that we have to live in. So if I can, I like to keep my yard clean. So if I can keep my yard clean, then maybe other neighbors will see that and they'll also pitch in. And this is why I do what I do, hoping that I can help spread the word and that other people will jump on board.
Amazing. Accessing this network of support is and building awareness of how to gain access. I'm wondering, Shauna, if you can tell us a little bit about how people can go about doing that and how that works.
Sure. Well, our team knows the community, both Halton and Hamilton community, and donors who build capacity and leadership. They amplify impact, advance inclusion, and solidify collective action. We're equipped to catalyze meaningful change. Our community, folks that are in need, have several access points. So whether it be through our agencies, programs and services, whether it be contacting us directly, whether it be using 211, which is a great service that allows folks to dial into different programs and services without having to navigate that themselves. So we're definitely able to. There's different points of access, if you will.
And the efforts are to ensure that the access is equitable, for everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks to both of you for joining us here on Community Corner. Really appreciate your sharing your personal journey and really value your leadership in community and your explanation of how these networks are all tied together to support households and individuals holistically. We're now going to be moving into our news segment where we have a team member from United Way standing by.
Hi, this is Melise with United Way Halton and Hamilton. I'm standing here near the GO station, and what you can see behind me and around me is a series of railway, road, and highway arteries. These roads and rails keep us connected. They connect us to our homes, to entertainment, to work, and to each other. Connection and staying connected are key elements to the health of a community and also to the well-being of individuals. And although we have nearby options for transportation, far too many remain isolated. Far too many still face transportation as a barrier to accessing vital programs when in need. When individuals and families cannot access programs because of either lack of transportation or personal mobility, it becomes detrimental to the health of the community. Social isolation is a growing problem, and our seniors in our community are especially vulnerable. For them, some risk factors may include living alone, disability, poor health, language barriers, poverty, and lack of access to services and other supports. Research underscores the role of social isolation in disease and mortality. It is a significant health threat. And to add to this further, many of our family, friends, and neighbors have found themselves unable to carry on without the help of distress lines, food banks, and shelters, and other supports. More than a third of United Way funded agencies reported that demand for their services has grown faster than their organizational capacity. 95% of the programs this community supports through United Way saw demand stay consistent and grow last year, and 49% of those have a wait list. Though very strained, our agency partners have continued to deliver high-quality, compassionate programs and services that have been lifelines to those in need. They are fully invested in and dedicated to the work they do, and we couldn't be prouder of them. It's thanks to these incredible organizations and to this gracious community that we continue to forge ahead. I hope you're as inspired by these accomplishments as we are. Thanks for joining me here today. With every episode, we're committed to everything local, and we will feature a local performance. I hope you enjoyed this segment of our show. Stay tuned for these amazing local artist performances. We call this Local Love.
When life gives you lemons, what a sour expression. Yesterday I got a truckload. Yeah, I know what I'm to do, make something sweet and something new, but honestly it's just annoying to go through. And I know what they say is all true. It's only temporary blues. Just a little rain today. I can take it, just a little bit more gray. I can make it, been outcast and cast aside. aside, but it won't ruin my life. 'Cause even through the darkest skies, still I rise. We all know that awful boat, the one we ride when there's no hope. Something always comes around. It might take a ton of time, and there might be some sleepless nights, but there's an ending always somewhere out of sight. So what's the use in hating it? No excuse is gonna change it. Just a little rain today, I can take it. Just a little bit more gray, I can make it. Been outcast and cast aside, but it won't ruin my life. 'Cause even through the petty lies, still I rise. Been through it all, to say the least. Covered in scars, but I'm on my feet. Knock me down and you will see. Come back singing to my own beats. Been through it all, to say the least. Been 3 months in and we are laughing. Just a little rain today, I can take it. Just a little bit more gray, I will make it. Been outcast and cast aside, but it won't ruin my life. 'Cause even through the worst of times, still I rise. Just a little rain today, I can take it. Just a little bit more gray, I will make it. Been outcast and cast aside, but it won't ruin my life. 'Cause even through the worst of times, still I rise. Still I rise. Still I rise. Still I rise.
Particularly for queer youth during the pandemic, it's been a really hard time. Quarantining often with folks such as family members who might not be aware of their identities, they might not be supportive of their identities. So through our programming, when we reach out to individuals every week, there's a whole bunch of different issues that come up with everyone. Really anything that's going on in their lives, we're very happy to chat about whatever they want to chat about. Everyone on our team is made up of members of the community. So most of the time, the person that they're chatting with can relate on some sort of level because of their overlapped lived experience. Thanks to the support of the United Way and their donors, we're able to help young 2S LGBTQIA+ youth and help them overcome any kind of barriers that they're facing.
Welcome back. We hope that you enjoyed that performance as much as we did. What we've learned over the past 2 years is that when we stand together, we're stronger, and that everyone benefits when we help one another. So, and all of these actions, they've helped us to, develop into lessons. So now more than ever, the people of this community need support. Things continue to shift with the economy and with the pandemic still lingering. We know that children and youth who face multiple barriers in younger years are more apt to face significant social issues in their adult lives. We know mental illness is on the rise. We know the best way to break intergenerational poverty is by investing in youth and by providing a network of support, which you alluded to. We also know only 1 in 3 domestic violent victims report abuse. So a lot of this still remains invisible. But these issues, they belong to all of us. Thank you so much for joining us today to hear from our guests and for learning just a little bit more about the community. So special thanks to Shauna and to Kenny. Really appreciate you being here. If you would like some more information, you can visit the website uwhh.ca. See you next time on Community Corner.